So cute. Oh, beautiful day, beautiful day. Beloved twin souls. Welcome to this video with another message for twin flames. So this is my YouTube channel for the twin flame community. It is in English and I have started it recently. This is only I believe it's my fifth video or fourth video. And, I only have one subscriber, and that subscriber is me. Like to make sure that everything flows correctly, I have to master myself. So I, I make sure that everything is flowing correctly. And what I want to share with you today, divine twin soul flames, twin flame souls. It's first a little overview or reminder of what a twin flame soul is. What a twin flame soul is a soul that has two bodies incarnated into the physical realm, and those two um, bodies are meant to be what they call counterparts, or a kingdom marriage that will assist the divine and assisting humanity and their spiritual path. So, in other words, it's not a common, it's not very common. First of all, it's not very common that a soul will decide to take this path. And not only is not very common, but it's a very, very difficult path. And, for both counterparts, for both twins, both bodies that belong to this soul. So, and there's a little problem that happens when you reach certain frequency in the twin flame journey, and that is that you don't only have your counterpart, or the person you're meant to bring this heaven to earth with, but you also have other parts of your soul which are also your twins, but they are not meant to be your your life partner, if that makes sense. So to help assist the spiritual community in this matter, I'm going to share my perspective, or the information I have acquired from my own experience. For those who are new to this channel is called The Beloved 1111. And the reason I call it The Beloved, or I introduce myself as the beloved in the spiritual community, is because my soul's name is very ancient. It's a song. It's a song. And, it's very hard to put in just one word. And in my spiritual awakening, I was guided by the divine to use the beloved because it contains certain frequency that needs to be feel incrustated into the ley lines, or the fields. And so that's why it's called the Beloved 1111. And what we're going to get into today is divine masculine energy and divine feminine energy. But this is going to be kind of more like a universal perspective. I'll call it like that. Okay, so there's one difference between having a light body and then having a light body activated, and then having that activation in practice. So what makes the difference between, let's say, most of humanity and the souls that already have a light body is that humanity, it's in the process of building their light body. That's why when they say the humanity has to build from the ground up, What it means is they're building their light body. They have a light body, but it's built, I believe it's built all the way to the astral. And like the foundations of their light body. So they need to uh, create the connection between their light body and their human vessel. So the difference is that ascended souls or twin flames, we have a light body that we have built for many, many lifetimes. And in this lifetime, our soul decided to activate it to assist humanity in integrating polarities that are mostly hurting the family unit. Okay, so the family unit, it's very important for peace to thrive on Earth. And in many perspectives, like if you're a mother, being respectful to your children or your children being respectful to you and things like that, and it's not only your kingdom spouse or wife, it's also your husband or wife, it's also your children, it's your friendships, your work. Are you a good employee, or are you a good boss? Are you kind as a boss? Are you human as a boss? Do you consider your employees to have, yeah, give me one second. No, to have a decent, appropriate, God-aligned job, and vice versa? Are you an employee that, does your work with respect to your coworkers and to your boss? And so it's really in many areas of our lives. It's not work, it's relationships, it's divine partnership. But in the case of twin flame souls, it's very it's very like a responsibility, that because we understand our soul is very, very trained to understand, it's been a lot of work, so we hold a lot of light. So the soul is the one that decides to activate the bodies. It decides it's time to activate the bodies, and the integrate the light body in with the. So the way I like to call it is the spiritual body integrated with the human. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant the spiritual soul with the human soul to get merged into one. So I'm going to try to explain it a little bit deeper. So there's three levels, I'll call it levels, that the twin flame soul has to integrate. One, it's its inner divine feminine, divine masculine energies, which is the spiritual soul merging with the physical soul. This is going to make sense in a little bit. Okay, inner human soul merged with spiritual human soul. Okay, that is divine feminine is the spiritual soul, divine masculine is the physical soul, and they have to merge. And that's the first level, our inner merging. And then what happens is it expands to your counterpart, or the other part of your soul that is meant to be your kingdom spouse, and or counterpart, or we just call it twin flame in the twin flame community. And this is another level because you have to integrate polarities at a deeper level. And usually everybody's waiting for their twin flame to be this perfect, beautiful, um, like, oh, they're gonna like everything I like, and and things like that. But that's why they call it counterpart, because usually it comes with complete opposites to you. So that doesn't mean that you will not understand each other. It's just that you will be very, very in opposite polarities. um you know it might be the same thing that something calls you in together, like for example, like a job or something like that. You guys meet each other at a job, or or at a party or whatever, but it just might happen that your counterpart is just complete opposite to you. And that's kind of like the point, that you have to integrate those polarities. So it's basically twin flame souls are, all of the opposite of what romantic relationships are usually on Earth, because they're not only uh, requiring you to have your light body activated, your higher heart chakra and your heart chakra activated, and you're working on your higher chakras, healing your lower chakras, but it's also asking you to go deeper and connect with your soul at very deep levels, and then integrating all of these polarities, yes. But then comes another level, which is the collective level, which happens that, at some point you get activated in your light body into the what they call the ley lines, which is basically the pathways of energy that flow all through Earth and that interconnect all of us. So you get activated into that oneness with all. We call it one with all. When you become um, aware that you are connected to the trees, you are connected to the animal kingdom, the elemental kingdom. And in my case, it got to the point where, I got activated, what I call universal. I just started connected with the planets. And, I started understanding how to just go into my heart and connect with, the sun and things like that, which is galactic and intergalactic level. And this sounds all out there because it's like, how can you have consciousness that you are interconnected with a planet, for example, Venus, or the sun, or Jupiter, or things like that? How can you have that awareness, and how do you know you're really connected? Because it's possible, because everything is interconnected, and there's gateways in our body that we don't have to be physically there to connect with these beings. So the galaxy, the planets, that they're beings, they're souls. And so that brings me into what divine masculine and divine feminine is. So to be able to understand divine masculine energy a little bit deeper, we have to understand form. So, for example, a butterfly has a form, it has structures, it has patterns that create the wings, the little antennas, the mechanism, the mechanism so that the butterfly could fly. So one of the great magicians that comes into my mind that went really deep into mechanism was Leonardo da Vinci. He had all he went really deep into mechanism. He was trying really deep to connect and understand divine masculine energy. So when they say, for example, you see a tree, it has leaves, it has its branches, it has the roots, everything, its structure, it has, and there's patterns that create the structure, the mechanism for the tree to be, for example, the difference between an apple tree to a maple tree, for example. There's patterns that create that difference. Those patterns, it's divine masculine energy. It is the energy that gives structure, that gives the form, the shape, the foundations for that tree to be a maple tree, for example, or a apple tree, cherry blossom, yes, or a peach blossom. I love those; those are beautiful. And so these trees hold those patterns, okay, a blueprint. Okay, so that blueprint is divine masculine energy. Divine masculine is the great architecture. That's why they say divine masculine is the great architecture, because divine masculine is the energy that gives everything form. Okay, shape, structure, mechanism, etc. And this in the human vessel, and when it comes to values, it gives values such as being speaking with honorability, with integrity, and just being responsible and being an honest person. It has many levels, divine masculine energy. So divine masculine energy, we find it within ourselves, we find it within our spouse, our kingdom spouse, I'll say it like that, because this is another level. It's not the same, okay? It's not the same, I'll just say it like that. It requires a lot of inner work. And for those who want to do the work, okay, it's not mandatory. And usually it's the soul that, it decided. So it's not like we don't have no choice. It's our deepest desires, our soul. So it's all in the universe. So when somebody speaks and says divine masculine, they're really saying the whole universe. They're not talking about your divine masculine or your counterpart. They're talking about the divine masculine energy that is in the whole universe. Okay? But in the spiritual community, when they refer to divine masculine, they're referring to the human vessel that's holding that frequency, okay, of divine masculine. And I know this is a little complicated for the human mind to understand. And, the soul understands perfectly, but the human soul human mind has a little bit of hard time understanding this. So, but basically, when you're saying divine masculine, it's all of the universe, divine masculine energy. It's everywhere. It's in your child, it's in your father, it's in your mother, it's in your sister and brother, it's in the trees, it's in the butterflies, it's on the sea. It's what gives shape, it's what gives form, it's what gives structure, mechanism, direction, etc. So divine feminine energy, it's very different. Divine feminine energy, it's more energy. It's more like the energy that gives that butterfly life, or the energy that gives that beautiful tree life. So it's basically life. Divine feminine, it's life, and divine masculine creates structures for that life to be expressed in the human form, in the human realm, and on the 3D realm. So, so that's why they used to call divine masculine the matrix twin. It's not that divine masculine is unconscious or things like that. What they're trying to say is, divine masculine's mind works a little bit more with the 3D realm, with the structure, the found, like the the form, the mechanisms, the building and things like that, rather than divine masculine energy is more into, the energy, the the imagination, the and things like that, like more of dreaming, I'll say like that. It's more of a dream energy, more of like, oh wow, this beautiful feeling, this, how do I make this beautiful feeling, this beautiful experience, translate, how do I translate it into the human mind? And that's why where the divine masculine comes in and says, oh, here we go again. So let's imagine, here comes divine feminine. She's like, oh my God, I want to create a new butterfly with different colors. And I wanted to have a color that has never been seen. So I'm gonna make a brand new color, and I wanted to have big wings, and I want the wings to be a little bit longer and things like that. And then divine masculine is like, okay, here we go. Just joking. But divine masculine energy will be like, okay, so we need the color first. We need to create the color. Let's create the shape. We're gonna need this kind of cells, this kind of mechanism, and to the pattern, the blueprint for that beautiful new butterfly to show up in our reality. And this is what we call miracles, when we see things that the divine creates for us. And when we are connected to that new creation, we know human, in the human form, we call it miracles, because it's something that's never been seen and that can only be seen, created when you are really, really flowing with source energy. source energy is perfect, the union of divine feminine and divine masculine. So it's not separated, it's just one energy, source energy, creation energy. And, but here in the duality realms, we have these forms and separation in our human mind. So in the twin flame journey, our mind has to merge these two polarities into one. So when a creation comes directly from source, it's not like a divine feminine has to tell the divine masculine, like, oh, I want to create this new butterfly. The divine masculine already knows. And by the time, she's downloading that beautiful new image, he's already creating the structure for it, if that makes sense. So this is the way the divine has guided me today to share my perspective on what I have experienced in my own inner journey, my own spiritual journey. So when I refer to divine masculine, I make sure to say my inner masculine, my counterpart, or because it helps. The human mind doesn't work the same as the spiritual mind, and the spiritual mind doesn't need any help. The spiritual mind doesn't need any sort of help. It already knows. What needs help is the human mind. So that's why we say we create from the ground up. So what that means is we're able to understand the needs that humanity has and able to serve them. And when we say we create from the top to the bottom, is we're saying what we are creating is a co-creation of source. So we tap into source, and then source is the one that gives us the inspiration to create. And it could go all the way down or all the way up, because source is everywhere, and it will create out of need what the need for evolution and for expansion and for joy and harmony. And because that's our nature: harmony, unconditional love, prosperity. So when there's distortions and that are lack where they're stopping this growth, source will create. And the way that usually happens is, if somebody has a need, source will inspire those who are able to create the solution for the person in that need or the situation. And so that's what happens. That's how source works. And the way it usually works is, for example, the problem that I'm seeing right now is that they're talking a lot about, the homeless situation in the United States. So a friend of mine mentioned, it was her biggest concern. And, in one of my trips, I was guided to gift her with a tiny little, it's like, where at the sea, they have this little country that they're like this. I forgot the name right now, but the little animal goes in there and hides. It's its little home. So I gifted one from my land to the land I visited. And what Mother Earth told me was like, no, you need to focus on yourself right now, like your own healing, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to help anybody. So at the point I was at that point, and the divine made sure that I stayed in my lane. And the reason the divine does that is because the we're not able to do much at one point, but if we focus on our healing in our inner journey, at another point, we'll have the strength and the resources for other solutions. So what that means is, because I wasn't able to really help at that point, doesn't mean on another point I will not be able to. But first, I have to take care of myself. And another example that I was giving is, so I was supposed to make this video yesterday on the 11th. So the number 1111 has brought me and to understanding that I have to focus and being aligned to my inner healing, my inner merging is my priority. And I have also been guided by many of my guides to put myself first and never, ever, ever put myself in danger. So never put myself in danger, never hurt myself. Always put myself first, take care of myself first. And then when I'm strong enough, I can help others. And so so that's the problem that's coming in for me in my reality. Is like I was not aware that this was happening. And it just remind the little examples like, okay, but the solutions come to the to where you are at right now. And that's why they ask us to focus on ourselves. So for example, I'll make another example. If I want to create a new pair of shoes, like design a new pair of shoes or whatever, I will go to the magical shoemaker. I will not go to a chef to make me those shoes, because it doesn't have the skills, and it's not like it's not going to give me the solution. But magical shoemaker, I'll just call it I'll call it a shoemaker, because this is, Twin Flames is a little bit more advanced audience. um but I'll go to a shoemaker to make me the shoes. I won't not go to the chef, right? So what Source does is it looks at the human skills, like, and the spiritual development, like how far in the spiritual journey are you to hold this new idea and to bring it to life, and what resources do you have. So um, it inspires us to for always for something greater. But the way the divine inspires is, so the divine is here at this timeline, and we're right here, and the divine wants to take us there. So we will have to, we will have distractions and things like that. But like the divine is like focus, like this is where you need, this is what the solution I want you to bring in is the creation. And this is the skills you need. This is the resources you need. So I need you to focus on that and get to this point. But what happens is when we hit the higher timeline, actually everything was already created. All we are really doing is following that flow. And sometimes it requires us to create things that we didn't think would really help for like in my case, my example, I'm an artist. So the divine took me from learning. I already knew how to draw, but he had me retake drawing. I took drawing courses, drawing classes, and I was trying to I was trying to connect the my spirituality to the to my art. And I knew there was something deeper, but I couldn't explain it. But either way, I took the drawing classes, even though it didn't seem to make any sense from what I wanted to do. And then I took watercoloring classes, and I was like, this is not what I want to do. I want to express, my divinity, and I want to help people on their spiritual path. And then slowly, I ended up creating a coloring book. I have all these beautiful watercolor paintings. And so the divine, well, you will have to get the skills. You will have to get what it needs for you to get to that higher timeline. And so now I'm using them as a background from my thumbnails and things like that, all the art that I created over time. And they're serving a higher purpose, because the subconscious works a lot with symbolism. And I'm starting to understand my own subconscious better with my own art. So it's like my own path is a path to know myself better. But it did require for me to do the little things as learning to sketch. And I'm not saying everybody's an artist, other people's have, you're meant to be an architect. You might need to create homes that are, in balance with Mother Nature. You might need to go to and take classes, you just might need to take the classes, learn math and things like that, how to do blueprints and things like that, so you can bring those ideas from source into reality. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope it assists you in your own journey. And this is only my perspective from my own experience. You might have something different to bring into the table, and create your own videos. You don't have to agree with me. You could just create your own videos. So that's it, beloved audience. Thank you for listening to this video. And one more time, I hope it helps you. And have a beautiful, amazing day. And I'll see you next month. Thank you.